Hello there. I hope you've been enjoying your lunch. And props to the team here at the FCC, another wonderful luncheon event. Thank you so much. And welcome to and welcome back to the Foreign Correspondents Club. And before we welcome our very esteemed guest, the prize-winning political cartoonist, Harry Harrison, who will be moderated in a fireside chat without the fireside by our club president, Keith Richburg, just want to say a few words. I don't know about you, but Harry's cartoons over the years have made me giggle. They make me laugh out loud. They've made me snort. There was also the one moment when I was drinking my morning coffee and I snarfed all over the newspaper. It was not a pretty moment, but it happened. And credit to Harry's work for that. For over 20 years now, his daily cartoons have been a part of our lives here in Hong Kong. They have entertained, they have informed, they have also educated us. We want to congratulate him on a new book of cartoons that just came out, Ad Inc., available for purchase. And thank you to the kind team at the South China Morning Post for giving club members here at the FCC a discount. We like discounts, thank you very much. And also, I encourage all of you, when you have a chance, to go downstairs to the main bar area on the Hugh Van Ness wall. You will see Harry's cartoons, and they are the originals, not digital copies, because Harry provided them to the club, and thank you so much for that. It's not only available for the membership to enjoy, but also members of the public. So spread the word. In fact, every day of the week, from 10 a.m. to noon, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m., the general public can come in, check in at the front desk, and enjoy the cartoons. So please spread the word. And as a member, if you're there enjoying Harry's cartoons, with a glass of wine perhaps, just don't do what I did with the morning coffee, because you don't want to spray it. These are his originals after all. But without further ado, let's give it up for Harry Harrison, moderated by Keith Richburg.
Well, thank you, Harry.
Are we on?
Oh, yeah. I think we're on. I think these mics work. So thank you so much for coming here.
You're welcome, Keith. Thanks for having me.
Well, I see you at the bar a lot, but is this your first time actually sitting on stage here and doing one of these formal chats?
Of course, yeah.
All right, okay. Well, is this also the first time you've actually worn long pants at the FCC?
Not entirely, but yeah, I generally managed to relax the rules myself and wear shorts over the years. Okay. We used to put long pants on to come here once upon a time, and then
long time back, though, yeah. Right? Yeah. And one last intro question: where's the Hawaii shirt? I'm used to only seeing you in a Hawaii shirt. What's going on?
I couldn't find one that didn't look like a prune this morning, so this one was actually sort of semi-ironed.
Oh, okay. All right. So we got Harry Harrison, long pants, proper shirt, long sleeve shirt, and the towel. You got to be with the towel, right?
I've still got the towel, unfortunately, because nerves and heat.
Well, I do have to ask you, to start off with, before we get into the actual cartoons here, I mean, everybody wants to know, I think, what's your day like? What is it? You're a cartoonist. I mean, do you just kind of roll out of bed and draw a cartoon and go back to sleep? Or what? You're also a journalist. Cartoonists are also journalists. You got to know what's in the news. You got to know what to poke fun at.
I'm a freelance illustrator, so I have lots of other jobs to do at this. And then at night time, my evening job is the SCMP. So all day long I'm free to do other work, and then around 6 o'clock the SCMP creeps up on me, and I don't generally read before I do it, because when I get the news list I could have been reading all the wrong stories, and I'm bound to the print edition. So whatever's in the news list for the print edition, then I scurry around looking. If I don't already know, some stories because they just go on and on and on over the months. Every so often you get a fresh one and you wonder what it's about. You have to try and track it down. Often there's a lot of spelling mistakes in the news list, and you have no idea what they're actually saying. So
you get what time do you get the news list?
Around 5:30, 6 o'clock at night.
5 or 6 o'clock. So that's when you actually go to work as a cartoonist.
No, that's what I'm saying. I get up very early sometimes and do other work.
So you're doing other work, but for SCMP, 5 or 6 o'clock, you get this news list. And then what happens? Is it one and done? You say, okay, that's it. I'm drawing that. Send it in, or done, or is there more to it?
Then it often takes me, as I get older, it takes me a while to come up with the first cartoon. Once you've got the first cartoon idea, you do a rough pencil sketch, send it in, scan it and send it. once you've got your first one, it sets the cogs moving, and then you just keep going. And sometimes I've got up to like maybe 10 rough ideas that I've sent in, and then they come back to you and go, oh, we want the first one.
So all the other ones become wasted time, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
I kept going because I thought they hate them. You know?
You're just wait. They're in meetings, and you think they'd hate the cartoons.
Yeah. I think they hate the cartoons every night. I think they hate the cartoons, but it turns out they're actually in meetings. But even so, you still can't get rid of that thought.
At some point, can you publish a book of the ones that you drew that never were published?
Unfortunately, they're not, because they're not drawn up. So that would take me forever to draw them up. And the shelf life of a cartoon is pretty short. I mean, the ones downstairs on the wall, we have tried to give a description of what the story is about, because you know, stories move on and it disappears really.
But talk about your office a little bit now. That's actually the picture up here. Is it?
There.
You can see it there. They can see it here. Is that's where you work? That's
what I call the central desk. We're the only non-sex workers in a building full of sex workers.
How did that happen? Is that on
That
purpose,
sort of happened by accident. I shared with a friend who suddenly realised there was a brothel opening up next door to him.
I see.
Yeah.
But what happens when people have to come and see you in this building?
Some will just come in, they don't mind the place. Others will ring me from the street and I have to go out and meet them somewhere else. Yeah. It's bad for some reputations, that's the problem.
Did you get to know the other tenants in this building here?
Only through the lift, not through any business transactions. Yeah.
Okay, that's the main office. And what's this here we're looking at?
That's that's the llama desk, what I call the llama desk. And that's very accessible opposite where I sleep, so you know I can just run in there. If I don't fancy doing ferries and things like that, I work in there.
And you're an island guy?
Yeah.
Always have been, right?
Always have been, but I do like to have a space in town as well, surrounded by prostitutes.
And tell me, you send in 5 sketches. I mean, are they actually? What are your tools of the trade here? Do you pencil them out first? Is it pen and ink? There we
go. That's pretty much what I use for the cartoons. So obviously the pencil, then I use dip pens. So I buy dip pen nibs and I tape them onto chopsticks because it's a very nice weight to use. And once the ink drawing's done, then I use Chinese stick ink and an ink stone to get the grey tones.
That's the ink. That's the Chinese stone there, yeah.
With a brush, obviously.
So that's how you make them grey.
Yeah. That's for the wash after the line work's been done.
And you never do them in colour for SCMP, correct?
No, because otherwise I'd miss the deadline.
Have they ever asked you to colorize?
They do ask me, and I always say, you know, it's really a bit tight, isn't it, some nights? Yeah.
Well, let me ask you, because every time I look at the SCMP, the first thing I go to are the cartoons. And the first reaction is, oh, he's going to get in trouble for this one. Has that ever happened? Or what?
No, you get the odd complaint. Usually someone who's got the wrong end of the stick, because you've used certain words, they think you're insulting a race or an event. And you have to, their emails, the letters department always send me those sort of things. And the person's email is always there. And I don't say nasty things to them back. I explain to them what the actual gist of the cartoon is, and they always come back and say, "Oh, thanks. Sorry about that."
Well, it's funny. Every time I get interviewed or asked about press freedom in Hong Kong, I tell you all the bad things going on. We all know all the bad things happening here and Apple Daily and all that. But then I always have to end by saying, "But the SCMP still prints Harry's cartoons, so it's a bit of a mixed bag here." So, are you the barometer here? As long as you're still there, we're okay.
I'm continuing doing what I do, assuming that I'm treading the right side of whatever invisible red line is there. And as far as I know, that's what's happening, and they know what my cartoons are about. But either that or I'm sitting on a powder keg.
They're just piling them up, waiting.
Yeah.
Well, that's my question. Do you think everybody gets them? I always thought maybe they don't actually get it. That's why you're able to get away with it.
No, I mean, certainly everyone knows what they're about at the SCMP, and I'm just assuming someone with that level of carefulness in the national security side of things would have someone who's able to interpret my cartoons.
Somebody who actually gets the humor.
Yeah.
You're actually quite funny in some of these cartoons. You know, if I have to write a column, I've got 800 words or 1,000 words to skewer somebody, but you've got to do it in one image and 1 or 2 sentences at most, right?
Yeah, and that comes from growing up as a child. My dad was in the Air Force, and I moved schools a lot. And the first thing that happens to you when you move schools is the bullies come after you, and you don't have any friends. You usually get stuck with all the weirdos that don't have any friends as well. So, what I found when I was very young, I used to fight, but when I got my glasses, that became less of an option. So I discovered humour. One-liners, would diffuse just about any situation and make you friends very quickly, and that's pretty much how I developed what I do now. I didn't realise why I was developing it, apart from not to get beaten up. But yeah, that's what.
That was in the UK.
That was all over, wherever in the UK and abroad as well when I went abroad.
And when did you figure out that you could actually make a living doing this?
I was a bit slow on the uptake. I left school at 16. I was supposed to take A-levels and go to art school, but I had a Saturday job in a supermarket, and I preferred working full-time at the supermarket to going to the sixth form doing the A-levels. And at some point my mum and dad realised I wasn't going into the sixth form, and they said, you need to make a choice. Do you want to go to art college, or do you want to work in the supermarket? And I said, well, I'm managing the freezer department now, and I've got all the ordering to do. So,
it's important
so
work.
I chose the
Important
supermarket. Then they offered me management training and said, we think you've got a big future in this organisation. I was looking at these prematurely balding guys wearing nylon key markets ties, and I suddenly panicked, and I managed to find a job in a sign maker's. So I ended up sign making, drawing up lettering.
Then you hopped around the world for a bit?
No. Then through that I got a job as a retail interior designer, and at some point, after my fiancée had given me the elbow, I realised how much I hated my job as well, and I decided to go away, and I went to Australia and started illustrating there.
Sydney?
Yeah, Sydney. Still in Australia, isn't it?
I think so, yeah.
I know your wife's from Melbourne, so
yeah, she's Melbourneite.
Sydney. Probably don't rate Sydney.
They don't like Sydney very much, but then you bounce around. You came to Southeast Asia, then ended up in Hong Kong by accident. Thailand didn't work out.
Well, I was just backpacking basically after Sydney, and I ran out of money and had enough money to get a flight to Hong Kong. So I came here, worked, and then went back to the UK. And by then I had a portfolio of work to show in London to get illustration work.
You left out the wife.
Oh, sorry, yeah, I met my wife here as well. And she was going back on a certain date, and then I made up an excuse to go back. So I'm a sort of long distance stalker. But we're still together. It works out all right. Yeah.
Then you came back to Hong Kong, and then
back to Hong Kong, and I've been here ever since.
The humour here.
I've run out of things to say. Oh, I'm back.
Somebody was just dialing in from up north. That's all. It took them a while to get in. So you got the best job in the world when the mic doesn't work.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, all jobs are not always the same. They're not always the best job in the world. So obviously, you don't always feel like doing it, but once you've pushed through it each night, yeah.
Well, you know, I became a journalist because I was a failed cartoonist. I started out, you didn't know this, I started out drawing cartoons for the Michigan Daily, the university paper.
I've actually seen some, and I wouldn't say failed, you just decided to do something else.
Well, yeah, my father always said, you can't make a living as a drawing pictures, what are you, crazy? So I ended up doing the writing side.
Yeah, and I had no idea people, I don't know why, stuff appeared in newspapers and magazines, and I just thought famous people did them, and ordinary people didn't do that job. Even to quite an old age, like into my early 20s, I had no idea. It slowly dawned on me, and I thought that's what I want to do. Like, you know, so then that's what I started pushing for in my sort of spare time.
Well, it's great. Can we switch jobs sometimes?
I can't write. No.
Let's talk about some of your...
I'm happy for you to turn up at 6 o'clock of an evening.
6 o'clock and get the news list and try to think of something funny to say, right? Yeah. Can we talk about some of the cartoons?
Sure, yeah.
One of the great things about Harry's cartoons is, at least for me when I pick up my SCMP, is I actually recognize some of the characters. Yeah. They kind of repeat, they're in many of the cartoons. Like who are these characters here?
That's based on it's one of the guys from the tea shop cartoons I do. It's Mr. Wong. And he's based on a watchman, the day watchman in an office space I had in Wellington Street back in the mid-90s. Mm-hmm. And we used to go for dim sum together.
That's Mr. Wong.
Yeah, Mr. Wong.
Is that his wife?
Well, that's based on, I had an art director friend of mine that I used to do work for. He got me to do a series of ads, and one of them he wanted to feature a classic Chinese lady like his mum. Mm-hmm. And he described her to me, and that's basically, I did that ad, and she's turned up in the cartoons as well later on. I think he wanted to punish her, because the art director in question was gay, and I don't think his mum was very sympathetic about his lifestyle, so.
I love this one, by the way. I wonder what being on a cruise to nowhere is like. Probably a bit like being a pan-democrat, but with more seats.
Well, I put that in because you use one of the devices I use is to use two stories to back one off against the other. So you get sort of one fairly mundane story, but you can use it to push the pan-democrat issue. Also, I get some. I like drawing, so every so often I really want to just do a nice drawing, and a lot of the sort of topics don't really give me the excuse to do that. In this case, when it was about the cruise to nowhere, I love drawing those bumboats, or sampans as they call them here. Mm-hmm. So that was my
What'd
excuse.
You call it? Bumboats?
They're called bumboats everywhere.
I love that.
It's not really a sampan, is it? Because sampan means 3 planks.
Ah.
Yeah.
I'm going to check that name, bumboats, from now on.
Singapore have them.
Yeah. One of the things I love about these too is you always get ordinary people in Hong Kong commenting on the political situation going on.
Yeah, because it affects ordinary people. Most of the issues affect ordinary people.
Oh, university, that's what I like, or schools.
Schools, yeah. This is where the Education Department, the Education Bureau hasn't given enough guidance to schools on how to teach the national education side of things and the patriotism. They just announced, we want you to teach patriotic topics within certain subjects, and chemistry is one of them. So I'm not sure how you teach chemistry in a patriotic way, but anyway, that's a teacher who's clearly not really got the hang of it. Yeah.
Am I going to have to do journalism that way?
Yeah, it's coming. Yeah.
I've seen this teacher pop up a couple of times as well. He's a regular character, right?
Yeah.
This was one of my favorites. Don't be silly, darling. Of course there isn't an independence advocate or foreign force under your bed.
This is from the National Education Day in schools, where they taught very young children about the dangers of localism and stuff like that. And when adults, hopefully not now, but back in the 60s, if you were naughty, your mum would say, stop doing that, it's a bogeyman to get you, or that sort of thing. So I just imagined that's what it must be like for quite a few 3 and 4 year olds now. Like,
You get any reaction to that
foreign
one?
force.
Was that one where you drew that, and the next day you're going, oh, let me wait and see if the phone rings on this one?
No, I mean, I think it's fine, isn't it? These things are happening, and nothing's taboo. It depends how you go about it. Yeah.
Well, I love it. And the panda shows up regularly.
Obviously I use that often as a metaphor for Beijing or China.
I love that one. And now tell us what's going on here. This is Chu. Maybe.
Yeah, so that's the top one's a rough sketch, the sort of rough sketch I send in to get approval. And obviously the bottom one is a finished thing. I was just showing the difference between a rough sketch and the finished thing, and the fact that you sometimes approach a story from different directions. And because that story was actually about how many people were leaving the civil service recently, the bottom one made it because it's more on point than the one at the top. Yeah.
So the top one is sort of what you send in. You'll send in 5 of those.
Yeah. So the one that's at the bottom, I sent a rough drawing of that one as well. But as part of a package of others that I sent,
So you don't ink it in and fill it in and detail it until you know it's accepted?
No, not until the editor gives me the go-ahead.
Got it. What happens to the rough sketches?
The actual hard copies go in the bin and the others stay on file where I've scanned
And
them.
where can we find your bin, and can we put it on eBay?
Actually, there's an old guy who wears a singlet in my building. He's like the building manager. His name's Norton. And
Norton, like the honeymooners.
Yeah. So one day he said, "Harry," calls me in, and he's got a big bundle of my roughs that have ended up in the bin outside my door. He said, "Sign these." So I sat there and signed them all.
Recycling your bin work, all right. So now you know, if you want some real original Harrys, just go to Llama.
Go and see Norton.
So go see Norton.
This is at the other place.
Oh, with the prostitutes.
Yeah.
No, okay. Sorry, the ladies.
The sex workers.
Sex workers, yes, right. This is one of my favorites. Patriots only.
Yeah, again, there's a lot of patriotism being brought up. All kinds of institutions and that were being required to pledge their patriotism. So I just imagined how far that could go.
And the lady here shows up in quite a few.
Well, again, this is Mrs. Wong and Mr. Wong. They've got a number of jobs, Mrs. Wong.
They
and
move
Mr. Wong.
around.
Yeah, So.
Yeah, they're kind of transformative. They kind of go in different positions.
Yeah.
I love seeing them. Whenever I know there's going to be something humorous going on with these guys. This is hilarious. So any problems with my film? And if you look, he's holding up like one little frame. He's got one or two bits, but this bit's fine. The film says.
Yeah. I mean, that speaks for itself.
It speaks for itself.
It's something else that's happening at the moment.
Yeah. And this guy's always kind of the bureaucrat.
Yeah. I do draw a lot of bald people, possibly
Why is that?
As I'm gradually.
Is there any reason for that? None of your characters
fat
are
as well. I do fat balding people.
You do fat balding people. I wonder why that is. Yes, right. That wasn't one where you thought, oh, this was a little edgy, huh? That was okay. You thought.
No, I mean, again, it's actually happening, so it shouldn't be taboo. It's just it's how you approach it.
Yeah. No reaction.
You're trying to make people laugh. You're not.
Yeah.
I'm not going to overturn government decisions and that through cartoons, but I just want to lighten some of the issues. Because we've all got to get on with it. So it's.
Sure, yeah. Would you ever get a message back from somebody sort of in government or in authority saying, "I kind of like that. Can I have a copy of it?"
Not from the government, possibly, but
not the head of the film censorship unit.
I often sell to lawyers. They always.
And the policemen, these guys, I've seen some of these guys regularly, like the commander, and then you always have this kind of chubby officer.
And everyone assumes that I don't like policemen, but actually my dad was a policeman, and I grew up in that world. So I got a lot of time for policemen, but I do like taking the mickey, and they're a great foil for some of what's going on. And that's how a story progressed over a few days when they used cited health reasons to stop people attending the vigil. Then they put 10,000 policemen out on the streets that were all clumped together in huge groups.
Yeah.
So.
And what's he saying about at the bottom? And the top one is COVID-19, right?
Yeah, he said. I can't read it. We issued the June 4th vigil ban, citing health.
Yeah.
Concerns.
Health concerns.
Again, sir.
Again, sir.
And he's saying, and then sir saying, COVID-19, the deadly virus that just keeps on giving.
Yeah.
Because they've used that a lot.
It's on point, though. It's so, but you never got any kind of negative reaction for anything like these.
I've been lambasted by policemen.
Oh, really?
Before.
Oh, they don't want copies.
Weirdly, some want copies. Some pin them up in their booths.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Others have a go at me when they're drunk down the pub.
That's a hilarious one. Do we have any more here? I think we got one or two more. This was one of my favorites because these days I only write op-eds and pieces here.
And I have the original for you in my bag.
Yeah.
Sorry, I meant to gift it.
Thank you very much. I love that one. I mostly write op-eds these days, and that's always when somebody says, hey, can you write an op-ed about how Hong Kong's press freedoms are going away? And that's what I feel like doing sometimes. Yeah. I needed you to write an opinion piece on blah, and the guy's jumping out the window.
That was particularly after a week of a lot of Apple Daily op-ed people being arrested for stuff they wrote ages ago, but they said they were inciting foreign interest in what was going on here. Yeah.
Well, one of the things I really like about that, it really says journalism to me, is there's a typewriter, not a computer. Why is there a typewriter there?
I like using typewriters for journalists, so you know he's a journalist, because it could be anyone otherwise with a computer or a word processor.
I started out on typewriters.
Yeah, I can imagine, Keith.
Some of you younger people in the audience may not know what a typewriter is, but no, that's also one of my favorites there. And this one's a bit hard to see, but if you notice, there's again one of Harry's regular characters appears. It's the QAnon shaman. I don't know if you know the QAnon shaman, but if you watched, as I did on CNN, thank you, Christy, the Capitol Hill insurrection, and you were obsessed by it. You saw the guy with the horns and the fur who kind of showed up, and so you managed to kind of figure out different ways to use the QAnon shaman.
Every so often, something turns up in a story that becomes iconic, and I mean that whatever kind of idiot that guy was, his image was all over the world and instantly recognisable by just about anyone. You know, so of course, when you get that's a gift to a cartoonist, you can use that in all kinds of different situations. So, first one was in Hong Kong about national security. Then Trump was reluctant to leave the White House and was still insisting he'd won the election. So there he is there. And then when the Taliban stormed the palace in Kabul, it really conjured up that. Actually, what it first conjured up to me was the invasion of Ledgeco. But I think, and I was trying to think of an idea based around that, and I thought, no, because I didn't think that would carry. But what would carry is if you get that guy with the medicine man's hat into the Kabul palace, because it was a similar scenario.
If you can't see it, the Taliban sitting at the desk is looking around at his mates and sees the QAnon shaman in the corner and says, "What's he doing here?" Yeah. It's hilarious because you were able to make a comment about what was in the news that day.
It didn't actually address the unfolding human tragedy that's but you can't always, I don't know, I'm a bit flippant with my cartoons. I find it hard to take lots of stuff seriously.
Well, cartoonists have to be a bit irreverent.
Yeah, but you could be the other extreme where you're really like on point, but I'm not that sort of cartoonist.
Yeah, well, sometimes people just need a laugh. You know, there's so much bad news we read, and you pick up, you see that, and it just kind of makes you get a bit of a chuckle to start your morning.
Yeah, and that's why I'm in it, really. I'm trying to make a point, but in a light-hearted way that perhaps you think, oh, you know, well, things aren't that bad then, I'm not dead, you know.
And then, this was our chief executive. Again, the panda bear makes a reappearance.
I thought we'd taken that one out actually, but yeah.
And what the money is under her bed?
Yeah, because she did a lot of interviews in order to connect with the public, telling them that she was running out of space to put the money she was getting since the sanctions, which is not very woke, I don't think.
She gets a pretty big salary.
Yeah, and she's not using her chamber pot anymore.
Now, tell the truth. Did she actually write you a letter saying, "Can I have a copy? Can you sign me a copy of that?"
No, actually, that one we switched it out for something else more Christmassy.
I see.
It seemed a bit miserable.
You could send that copy to the executive office over there.
Yeah, she's got loads of cash. I could probably get a good deal.
Is that it? Yeah. Well, let's.
That was it.
That was it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we could leave it we can leave it on your office, or we can leave it wherever you'd like. But what I really want to do is try to see if the audience members have some questions for the great Harry Harrison. We've got 10 minutes left or so, and I know
Not Mark, though.
anybody have a question except Mark Erder? Okay, I get well. All right, I guess we have to. All right, if there's no other choice. Can you identify yourself, please, sir?
Mark Erder, company's APV. I have two questions. The first...
Wait, two?
Two. Can I
Getting
ask
greedy. Okay.
All right. First question is, do you use Mike Rouse as a model for some of these cartoons? Because some of them strikingly look to those of us at this end of the room like Mr. Rouse.
Unfortunately, I can't afford him. Yeah. I actually used to draw him quite a bit. I once did a job in the UK for Penguin Books, and the art director of Penguin Books said you've been taking the mickey out of my uncle. I said, who's your uncle? He said, Mike Rouse. Said, particularly that one, when he was doing Harbourfest, I had the Rolling Stones logo, the mouth, and it had regurgitated all over Mike Rouse, who was wearing a Mickey Mouse hat.
All right,
You had a second, less irreverent question.
A little bit more serious. Can you tell us a little bit about your process? I mean, are you thinking about some of the words first and then you find the cartoon to go with it, or do you have like an image in your head and you connect that to the story of the day and then work on the words?
It's usually the words first, because when I'm reading the story or reading through the news list, I have to start to think of a scenario, what one person would be saying, and then while I'm thinking about that more, then I start drawing the picture roughly in pencil while I run it over in my head. And but usually the words first, because otherwise you're just going to draw two guys, and then sit there looking at them saying nothing. Yeah.
So it's the joke first.
Yeah, you got to get the joke first and then work it up from there.
Okay, and sorry, I saw a question all the way over here. Wait for the microphone.
I noticed that some of your cartoons have Chinese characters, and I was always curious to know if you really do it yourself or ask someone to do it.
No, when I get stuff framed, the two guys that do my framing, Chinese guys, they're always going, wow, like, and I have to explain, I find it online, I trace it on a light box. So I don't even, it's not like I'm sitting there going, shh, shh, shh. And yeah, so that.
So your calligraphy is not perfect.
No, it's like drawing a picture rather than writing a word. If you see what I mean, it's just could be anything. It could be a duck. It's traced. Yeah.
Oh, good question. Tim Huxley.
Of the 4 chief executives we've had in Hong Kong, who's the best for a cartoonist?
Tung Chi Wah, hands down. Yeah.
Really?
And especially as I was just starting out when Tung was in power, and not that sure of myself. Tung was a gift, compared with the others. Donald was all right because you could just give him a big bow tie, I suppose. But Tung Chi Wah was the one. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. As a cartoonist, do you miss Donald Trump?
No, not on any.
Not as a human being.
Not
as a
on any human level. Yeah.
But Joe Biden's kind of boring, right?
No, yeah, actually, it's impossible to draw Joe Biden. Yeah.
How about Obama?
Yeah, you didn't want to take the mickey out of Obama.
Yeah.
Obama was a saint. Come on.
Put the halo over him. Questions, please. This is your one. Yes, right over here.
Martin Sabine, I'm an associate member. There's a long tradition of political type cartoons, and some of your work reminds me of Giles in The Express. Do you see yourself in a tradition? Have you had any particular influences?
Absolutely, Giles being one of them. I wish I was as good as Giles. That man was an amazing artist. Mm-hmm. And also Ronald Searle is a big influence of mine from a very early age, actually. Mm-hmm. Was that the question? Yeah.
Do you have any other favorites?
Stedman, Scarf, I mean, I like a lot of the current political cartoonists in the newspapers now, and Kevin Gallagher, Cal, big fan of his, and I actually know him. So you know.
It's a small community, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. There aren't many cartoonists left, so we're all Facebook friends, and if someone happens to come to Hong Kong, they always get in touch with me, and we go out and have beers and stuff like that.
Can you bring them here to the club sometime?
I do, yeah, sometimes.
Okay,
yeah.
good. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Questions for Harry. Ivy, Ong Wing Yi.
Hi, Harry. Just one question. How did you decide, or when did you decide, who decided when to publish this current book? And will you be expecting a second one?
That was that man over there, Vincent, and the guys.
Vincent.
Yeah.
Give a wave.
And
that's Vincent.
that-
SCMP.
October, November last year, I suppose it came up. Yeah. Not why then, Vincent? No, we just thought it was about time. I hadn't had one for since 2005, and it wasn't. I think they might have liked to get it out before Christmas, but it was quite a long job, so came out in April instead. Oh no, I don't think it was COVID linked or anything linked. It was just that's how long it took to.
And you came up with a title? Jayo or Ad Inc?
I came up with
Yes.
I came up with the title. We had quite a long title before that, didn't we? And wanted to make it a bit snappier.
Mm-hmm. Great. Yes, a question over here. The young lady.
Hi, Edith Terry. I love your work. My question is about Facebook. I am constantly sharing. Okay. Number one, you share some of your cartoons on Facebook, and I immediately share them to my 3,000 Facebook friends. But I feel a little bit guilty. It's like taking somebody's music and reproducing it without their permission. But I figure you've already put it on Facebook. So I'm just asking, is this a bad thing to do?
No,
am
not unless
am I a bad person?
Not unless you sign it, Edith Terry.
Edith Terry, yeah.
I mean, I put them up because I want people to see them. So yeah, if you're sharing them, it's great. You know.
So Edith is not violating the law.
No.
Okay, you're legal, Edith.
There was a lady over there that's been.
Oh wait. Oh, sorry. I've been ignoring the veranda to my peril.
Hi. Two questions, if I may. So, from the point that you are told, yes, go ahead with that cartoon, how long on average does it take you to draw them? Because your drawings are so fantastic. I mean, often cartoonists are little squiggles and whatever, but yours are fully fledged pictures, which are fab. And the second thing is do you ever get any inspiration from sitting around the FCC bar? Should we be careful what we say to you when we see you?
I've known for a fact you might end up in one of his cartoons.
Now and again, you do get inspiration from the FCC bar, but by the time I'm here, it's too late for that night's cartoon. You know, so you can store it up, I suppose. I do see a lot of stuff on my way to and from work and on Llama that often pops up in the cartoons, because stuff catches your eye when you're on your way to work. You know, and you think, oh, and then that night you're drawing it. On the other. What was the other question? How long?
Start to finish.
Yeah.
One drawing.
I like about 2 hours to do the finished piece, but it depends when the next ferry is sometimes.
In a bit of a hurry sometimes.
Yeah.
Yes, veranda. All the way in the back and then in the front row at the middle table here. You're next.
John
Hi, Harry.
Brennan.
Yes. Hi, Harry.
Hi, John.
Do you think that the stricter political rules actually boost your creativity? Does it give you a bit of an edge having a smaller box to work in?
Yeah, I think it does. It makes you, you have to be more creative with how you address a situation. You can't be head on, sort of, you have to do it with a bit more finesse in order to not cross that invisible red line. Right.
And at the front of that same middle table there, a gentleman here has a question.
Hi. Hello.
Yes.
Does it work? Hi. James Ross from Lightning International and RTHK. Harry, I'm interested in the process of deciding which cartoon is actually going to go into the paper. And you talked about the news list and you talked about the 10 ideas. But how about the back and forth between you and the editor, or is it a committee, or how much of that happens? How much do you go back and forth deciding, should it be this one or should it be that one? How should I change it?
Not a lot of back and forth. What I'm on the news desk, there's several people working there, and now and again they forget to take my name off the emails, and so there's some sort of voting system going on that I'm unaware of, but every so often I'll get one of them and they'll be arguing among themselves about which cartoon's better than another, and then I write back and say, I can hear you, you know. That's how it's done, yeah.
We've got time for maybe one more, and then one more, and then you can stick around. Are you going to sign some books?
Yeah, I'll sign some books. I might have to pop to the Chisaw.
Well, yeah, we'll give you a break, and then you can sign a few books. But do you have any last questions for Harry before I let you go? But I'll ask the last question, then, if nobody else will. How long do you keep doing this? Do cartoonists ever retire?
I'm not. No plans to retire, but I'm sure someone else might plan to retire me before I decide to. Depending on what happens, you know.
Well, you can keep doing this forever.
Yeah, I mean, as long as I can still hold a pencil and not drool on the paper too much, I'll keep going. Yeah.
Well, I know that it was a real trial and tribulation for you to put on long pants and seal-toed shoes.
I'm not actually very good at public speaking or comfortable with it.
Oh,
I spend hours in a small room surrounded by sex workers, you know. So.
Well, we're really glad you put on a long sleeve shirt today and kept the towel.
I kept the towel because I'm actually, nerves, heat.
Well, we're really glad you did this, and the exhibit is on at the FCC wall downstairs, thanks to Christy Lou Stout. Thank you to Christy and all of our team here at the FCC, working with the SCMP to get those great images up on the wall. And I think that's going to be open every day of the week, right, for anybody to come on in walk through the club and have a look. So.
Yeah, and could I just say thanks a lot for hosting it and putting this on, and thanks to the team for babysitting me through this.
Right, and if you haven't done it yet, there are books, I think, available, going to be over there for signing.
I think so, yeah.
And I think they would make great gifts. We got a lot of holidays coming up, so if you're looking for your Christmas presents, that's it. Thank you all, ladies and gentlemen. Thank Harry Harrison right here.
Thank you.
Before I let you go, for your troubles, we have something in here. We have a lot of things in here, but this is the way the FCC just says thanks.
Oh, thanks, Keith.
All right, you're more than welcome. Thank you, everybody.
Very much.
I hope you had a good time. All right.
Magic, thank you, Keith.
All right,
That's great.
They'll be here signing some books over there. Check out your credit card.